Mortgage Talks. I'm your host, Adam Hires. Get your free business transformation playbook. If you're a mortgage loan officer out there, hirescoaching.com. Get your free business transformation playbook to explode your business. Stop getting stuck in doing 5 loans, 10 loans a month. Do 22 loans a month in 38 hours. How do you do that? Well, a lot of ways. You got to be powerful. There's 4 things to being powerful. That is getting your energy up. I got my energy up because I just got a workout in about 30 minutes ago. I'm still sweating. I got back from Georgia, and so I still had to get a workout in. Got a workout in. Get your energy. Energy can come from vision, can come from meditation, can come from prayer, can come from obviously the workouts. But think big, think boldly, and get your energy up. Number 2 is you got to prospect every single day. Get your prospecting game on. Boldly prospect. Number 3, you got to market all the time. And right now, this podcast is the number 3. This is going to hit the number 3 right now because we got a guest on that's going to boldly help us crush our number 3, which is marketing. And number 4 is relationships. Pour into your relationships. You have to fill that cup, or you can't be the best business person you want. Even if you're like, hey, listen, I don't care about anything but business. You better pour into your relationships because you won't be the best version of yourself. You won't act right to the clients you're talking to. You won't act boldly. You won't be just a full version of yourself to boldly go through the powerful segment. So be powerful today. Limited risk equals limited income. All right, we have, man, I tell you what, excited for this guy. I mean, if you don't get just jazzed up after this one, check your pulse, go to the doctor. I don't know what's going on. If you can't get energy like flowing after this interview, you got issues, okay? So we got the brand doctor on. Man, buddy, I am so happy to have you on here. Henry, introduce yourself. Love to hear from you.
Well, dude, Adam, thanks again for having me. We got connected through, I think, Todd from David Meltzer's camp. So, listen, man, I am so stoked and so fired up to be here today. Your energy is radiating through this call. I can feel it. And I got to tell you something. Next time I go to New York City, because I live about 50 minutes away, I haven't been in there since COVID hit. You're coming with me because you'd make the best bodyguard.
I'll gladly go. Fun fact, I've never been in New York City. What about that?
Get out of here!
I know.
Next time you decide, you're coming to town. You let me know, and we'll get some nice Italian meals. I can promise you that.
That would be great. I went to New York one time, and was it Lake George, New York? Is that correct?
That's beautiful.
Beautiful. Did a powerlifting contest there, and I was going to go there, but got food poisoning, and I was booking back to Kentucky after that. So little fun fact, the only time I've been in New York, I was going to go, and it was not in the cards. Let me tell you, for 2 days, I was about to die.
Food poisoning is like death.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is the word.
The word. Yeah, I dropped 20 pounds, to make weight, and then you bulk right back up the next day to lift. But something I ate, it absolutely tore me up. So it was not a fun trip.
Well, I wish for anybody listening to this to never get food poisoning ever again.
It's horrible. But
listen, I appreciate you having me on, and I'm here to talk branding. I'm here to talk marketing. I'm here to help your audience, understand the power of investing in your personal brand or yourself to really establish a business and an online presence that truly represents who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I've been doing for the past 14 years. I started off as a graphic designer, literally pushing pixels, 20 hours a day, to a multi-million-dollar boutique branding agency now that serves about 15, 20 clients a year. We do well over 7 figures, and it's just been a beautiful journey. Not to say that it was all roses and Range Rovers to get to this point. But it's been a hell of a journey, and you can ask me any question. There's no out of bounds here. So as deep as you want to go personally, professionally, I'm here to serve.
I love it. Roses and Range Rovers. That's awesome. That's a good quote. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, so the audience, so Henry, and you all out there, you all know who you are. Loan officers, right? I'm speaking straight to loan officers, and anybody, trying to grow their business. It could be, in the profession of real estate, realtors. There's financial advisors listen to it. There is, what do we got here? We got insurance agents, and just some other entrepreneurs that I've ran into, and who knows who else is listening, right? But so I know branding is just such an overlooked thing, and people are lazy with it, or they hey, somebody says do a video, right, and then they do one video and two videos and nothing happens, right, and then they're just like, never mind, don't do it. I actually have a podcast that says don't do video, and people are probably like, what? They're always supposed to do video, and it's like, well, not if you're just gonna commit to doing a few and think it's gonna blow up, and then your first ones look horrible, right? Like they get better and better. So their branding, I know, is a huge piece in all these businesses, and especially right, COVID hit. It's escalated, and it's sped up the process of what was already going to happen, right? And so the online presence is huge, and I know that these businesses, small businesses, they're always like, well, support small businesses. Well, it's like, well, cool, yeah, but what are you doing that's really going to help yourself? And it's not just on everybody at the local market to go ahead and use you. It's up to you to grow your business, and branding is a huge way to do that. So I want to first ask, like, what does branding mean to you? Like, what is that? And so when people are, obviously a lot of people know what branding is, but I think there's probably a deeper context that you have to it, and a different way of thinking about branding than other people think about branding.
Certainly. So, a lot of people think that branding is like your logo, the way your website, your colors, right?
Yeah.
That's like branding basics, right? But the branding goes way deeper than that. And
right.
there's two definitions that I'm going to share with you that I think is going to resonate with your audience because of who they are. So the definition of branding that really resonated with me is the gut feeling people get when they interact with you, your product or service, and or business, right? That's that gut feeling. So what do they say after you leave the room, right? That's branding at its core, right?
Nice.
That's branding at its core. Now, the definition of personal branding that I found that really resonated with me as well is personal branding is the intersection between how you perceive yourself and how other people perceive you. So I'm going to throw myself under the bus here and share an example with you of how I had personal branding all wrong when I first started building my brand online to what it is today. So when I looked in the mirror, I thought I was like the next Gary Vaynerchuk, right? So I was out there dropping F-bombs and, thinking that I was going to eventually be his competition one day, right? And it wasn't until my wife started getting messages and text messages from like our friends and family, like, what is Henry doing? Like, does he not do design work anymore? Like, is he trying to be like some Tony Robbins type of person? Like, what is he doing? And she told him, she's like, I don't even know what he's doing now. But, so when she told me this story, this was a huge wake up call to me because I was so off the mark. I thought I was somebody and my audience thought I was somebody completely different. I'll give you another quick example, which really helped me pivot and get on the right track. So back probably 5 years ago, I was doing what everybody else was doing. I was putting out ads on Facebook of me, flying around in helicopters and getting in and out of private jets, right? And there was this guy who started commenting on the ads. And he was like, Henry, I just want to know who you are. Like, you show up in my feed of like getting out of these planes and stuff. Like, but like, there's no, like, what do you do? Like, how do you help people? Like, all I see is this, right? And instead of me like getting all defensive and like going after him, I kept asking him questions in the comments, like, right. And you could tell he was playing along, but it gave me such great feedback in my marketing. I was front facing my audience with all of this flash, but I had no substance behind it. I wasn't leading with anything that was going to help my customers or my potential clients live a better life, design a better business, right? And so this was a huge wake-up call for me. So I was like, listen, you can't leave with this stuff. You got to actually deliver the goods.
Right.
So I realized to myself, like, all right, we need to audit ourselves here and really get a better understanding of who I am, who I want to become, and why I want to become it, and seek out that journey to become that person, right? And so that's the true definition of branding and personal branding that I found to be really, really, it just sets the tone, right? And it gives a little bit more clarity of what it is so that we can start to use it more effectively in our business.
I love that. That is great. I mean, wow, that's great insight. I hope that the listeners really paid attention to that, because yeah, I mean, you're just sitting there and, hey, I'm showing this image, and that's a lot of what people think. It's like this imagery, image, you know, because I think you have like a couple 100,000 followers on Instagram, which is amazing. But like, you have others that have a lot of following, and they think, well, okay, all I got to do is, you know, throw a flash out there to get these followers, but there is no substance behind it. And, you know, a lot of those influencers, right, aren't actually influencing anything other than, well, I'll watch them. That's cool. I like to see it, but there's no deep impact that's actually happening, right? And, you know, that was good for you kudos to you for recognizing that and not just getting egotistical and saying, because I guarantee if you know, that conversation happened with 100 other people, only one or two of them probably do what you do. That's why you're a 1%er, because you said, okay, well, hey, okay, I'm going to take it in. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm going to figure out how can I get better, which is something also Gary Vaynerchuk does, right? But it's, you know, like my coach said too, as I was getting out there, he said, listen, give it all away. You give it all away. You just keep giving it away. People think, well, if I give it away, nobody's going to use me, or what? Nobody's going to, you know, that's the opposite of what happens, because, you know, you can tell me every single thing that you can do as branding. First of all, I would probably like, you know, deer in headlights, right? Because you're going to speak a little bit over my head. I'm not going to know how to put it all together. I'm going to get some of it. I'm going to be able to use a little bit of it. I may start, okay, I'm starting to dial in some, but I'm not going to be able to put it all together like you can put it together, because you are the expert. And that's great that you recognize that, and that you had that clarity to go forward. Now you're authentic about what you're doing, and it's absolutely, I'm sure it's exploded your business since.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this, because if you're a loan officer, if you're an underwriter, if you're a financial advisor, if you're any of the above, right? What makes you different from anybody else that does that?
Right.
It's your branding.
Right.
Right. And the sense of urgency that's going on right now that I'm pushing hard is, like you mentioned before, COVID made it real quick.
Right.
Because what happened was, going online and posting and creating content used to be like a nice to have, right? Now it's a must have,
right? Because
of the digital rush. Everybody's online.
Right.
Everybody needs to stand out. Everybody has to find their voice, has to find their look. I was talking to a real estate agent up in Massachusetts not too long ago who said, I'm just another wallflower. And that's why I'm investing in my branding, because I need to stand out. And so I asked them, I said, if you don't invest in your branding, what's going to happen? What is the end result going to be? How much business are you going to lose? Right? People remember 50% more of what they see.
Right.
So if you're not out there on social media, top of mind, putting out content that's relevant and valuable. Right. You've heard this 1,000 times. We'll get into it. We'll see how deep we can go with this.
Absolutely.
But two things that I want you start, if you're really serious about building your enterprise or your business, social media is a must, okay? But Henry, what do I say? What do I do? I'm scared of the camera. I don't know what to put out there or post. There's two things you got to do. Answer questions and answer objections. That's it. All of your content should revolve around those two pillars. Because what's going to happen? People are going to start coming to you for answers. Because why else do people buy?
Solve a problem.
Answers. Solve a problem, right?
Yeah.
So that's it. So when I went out there on social media at first, again, I was trying to do the motivational thing, and right? And I realized that like people aren't going to hire you, Henry, because you're a rah-rah type of person. Like people don't want pep talks; they want real talk.
Right.
So I had to get out there and say, listen, your website sucks. I hate to say this, but it sucks. How much business has it driven over the past 30 to 90 days?
Yeah.
That you could measure. Right? What's the sense of having a website if it's not generating revenue for you? What's the sense of having an Instagram page? So this is where I get a little bit polar. See, I don't look at social media as a place to get personal. I look at all my platforms as it's a business.
Right.
Like everything that I put out on social media, it has a business caveat to it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I use social media differently. I've built a multi-7-figure business off of social media. I remember the days when people were laughing at me because I would go live. And Tori, my wife, they would tease her too, like, doesn't your husband have a real job? Right.
That's funny.
Meanwhile, I have a 2 Comma Club award hanging off my wall over here for generating $1.3 million from one freaking funnel.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm laughing all the way to the bank when I hear things like that, because I say to myself, without social media, I would be a ghost.
Yeah.
I would be fighting obscurity. So social media, there's 1,000 ways we could take this conversation, but you really need to identify it. And I think what we should do is take them through sort of the baseline or fundamentals of branding so that they leave here with at least something to grab onto to start to reconsider their positioning online. I think that's a good way to drive this conversation.
Absolutely. Now I'll let you take that lead for sure. I just hope everybody's really, really listening. But there's all this noise is going on. It's who's really adding that value and telling the story. Stories are such a big thing too. Just keep continuing to tell a story. And, just like you said earlier, the big miss that people have, right? Like I see real estate agents all the time. And, of course I have so many real estate agents on my platforms because, we get a lot of business from real estate agents,
sure.
But it's like, right. The same old stuff that they just keep reposting of the same thing. And then it's like, got another one under contract. It's like, who are you speaking to? Like, does really anybody care, honestly, that you got another under contract? How does that help your client? who is that speaking to? That's just speaking to your ego and saying, oh, guys, I just did another one out there. But how is that really helping anybody? Now it's okay once in a while, like if you have some kind of award, right? And, you closed a whole bunch or you did, achieved a milestone. So people know that, hey, listen, you're successful. But that can't be your overriding theme that you just keep throwing out there. It's how are you helping? What's the story? And the big thing is, your clients are the victor, right? Not us. It's just we're the guide. Just like I'm sure that you're branding your people and you have these success stories of what they're doing, and it's really about them, right? Like I had my guy on last week that grew his business 467% this year, in coaching. But I don't sit there and talk about, well, I did this and I got this guy here. It's like he grew at 467%. This is what he did. That story's about him. That's not about me. And that's what I think, we can get into as well. But you showing that flash, saying, hey, all the flash and everything else, it wasn't breaking out any, it was just noise, and it wasn't breaking through really what mattered, and it wasn't telling a story to move. And again, who's the audience? Who are you talking to? Like, who are you talking to that even wants to see that? Just braggadocious stuff. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, I don't want to see all that. It's like, well, cool. Like, what can you do that's it's going to help me grow my business or have a great conversation, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That's it.
So yeah, I'd love you to go down that path of what you said. And then if you want to, talk about what I just said there as well.
Yeah. Listen, I think you basically prefaced where I was going with this when you said, like, who are you speaking to? So the fundamentals of branding is that fundamental question is who are you trying to serve?
Right.
Right. And what define that person for me, not just from a demographic level, like,
right.
What demographics are,
but
from a psychographic level.
Right.
So let's get into some psychographics. Like, what kind of car do they drive and why? What luxury item do they buy when they splurge and why? What are they trying to accomplish in life, in business? What are their hopes? What are their fears?
Right.
What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What is their attitude and opinions towards what we do as a loan officer, as a financial advisor, as a whatever, right? We need to really dig deep into that and then ask ourselves, well, what's happening in their lives right now that's making them want us?
Right.
Because nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I need a branding expert today. I got to go out there and find a branding expert. No. I have clients coming to me that have been in business for 10 years that are looking back on their websites and looking back on their online presence going, this doesn't depict the real value that I deliver these days.
Right.
We need to fix this because I'm losing reputation. I'm losing credibility. I'm losing authority. I look outdated.
Yeah.
That's why they hire me. Not because I'm posting pretty videos on my web. No.
Right.
Because I'm showing cases. I'll give you a quick example. So there was a client of mine who worked 9 to 5, had a cush 6-figure job.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have to leave. He really didn't. Lives out in Arizona. Cost of living out there is cheap compared to Jersey. Set. He sees me on Instagram, calls me because he wasn't really social media savvy or he wasn't going through any funnels because he didn't even know what the hell it was back then. Right? That's about 36 months ago. He calls me and I said, you know what? I usually don't take these calls. They're usually paid, but you know what? You sound like a decent guy. I want to hear you out. We talked for 45 minutes. He says, I'm going to go forward with this. I know it's a lot of money, but this is something that I'm passionate about. I'm put here for a bigger purpose than what I'm doing right now. And I said, well, what are we going to measure? How are we going to measure the success of you hiring me? Mm-hmm. I came out and asked him that. And he said, I want to be out of my job by December. Now this was January. Mm-hmm. And I said, all right, well, let's get after it. So he comes in the Brand Accelerator program. We're firing away. I take him through the process. So it's a couple months, and then he starts to get momentum going. It was the second week of June. He sends me a text message. He calls me HK. HK, I put in my 2 weeks. I go, what? He said, I put in my 2 weeks. Over the past 60 days, I've been able to generate more income than what I'm making at my business, at my current job.
Wow.
I'm ready to go. I know I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it.
Wow.
And that was it, man. I still get goosebumps from telling that story. But fast forward, he just created his first live event last week and asked me to speak at it. And he had over 100 people. I couldn't believe it. We're still in COVID. They had over 100 people there, live streamed it, had a live, and to see his brand evolve, to see what he did with my direction, it's like a father seeing his kid grow up, you know? It's like one of those, you know, and I'm just so proud of him. So the point that I want to make is we really dialed into who he was trying to serve.
Yeah.
And he nailed it because we did that work up front.
Right.
Too many people are trying to build funnels, trying to build websites, trying to put out content, you know, and trying to get out there as like the next big Josh Altman or, you know, these big Ryan Serhant. And they don't have a strategy. They don't have a plan. They're throwing shit against the wall, seeing if it sticks.
Right.
And that, listen, man, business is war. Would you go out on the war field without a plan? No, you'd be dead in 2 seconds. So don't run your business that way.
Right.
You know, I sound like I'm preaching from my ivory tower here, and I don't want to come across that way because, listen, I made all the freaking mistakes in the world. I've been in business 14 years. You know, I almost went out of business twice because of stupid mistakes. So, again, I don't want to sound preachy. I don't want to sound like I know it all.
You don't to me. I mean, I can tell you that. I'm getting goosebumps because, you know, one, I mean, anybody's listening to it, they understand your passion for what you do. And, you know, that's why I love coaching or, you know, helping people grow. It's just, man, you know, they get outside of what they know they can accomplish. It's just such a beautiful thing, right? I mean, for him to quit his job, you know, and believe in himself and keep growing, that is so, I mean, monumentally huge that, you know.
And to be in business for 3 years now.
Yeah.
On his own.
Wow.
Like, you know how many businesses fold after the first year or two?
Yep.
You know, so, you know, I say to him, like, I told him, I must have told him a dozen times over the 2 days of event how proud I am of him, because I am. I'm so proud of seeing him, like, take his vision and actually see it through and become so passionate about it to just, like, and he's changing people's lives. So he helps executive coaches and speakers get on stage and really tell their story authentically, right? Because he's a walking, you know, testimony of that.
I love it.
But here's another thing that I want to share with your audience that I think is going to help you, because I've heard some horror stories about the real estate industry. Meaning,
go ahead.
No, specifically.
No,
yeah,
specifically. I'm like, okay, let's go. What do we got? Yeah, go ahead.
Here's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Here's what I've heard, and real estate agents will probably agree with me on this.
Yep.
That it's all like show. So if you're selling $1 million homes, you better be driving at least a Mercedes, right?
Right.
To show that you're the part. That you got to look the part, right?
Yeah.
Now I understand that to a certain degree. However, if there's no substance there and no true value delivered, all you are is another pretty face. And I use this example. I'm going to take you back to my dating days.
Okay.
When I used to go out with, let me rewind. Let me ask your audience. Have you ever gone out with a very attractive man or woman and you sit down at the dinner table and all they're doing is checking their phone, looking in the mirror, no personality, no conversation. It's like you're talking to a rock.
Right.
But they're hot as hell.
Yeah.
Have you ever dated somebody like that? Have you ever gone on a date like that? How did you feel when you left the restaurant?
Unimportant, unfulfilled, not interested, right?
Waste of time.
Yeah, waste of time. Yeah.
Waste of time. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl.
Yeah.
So if you're going to look the part, because here's another thing. Let's call a spade a spade. I'm trying to sell $1 million house. You show up in a hoopty Toyota Corolla. I'm gonna question it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna question it. That's the way the world works. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. Mm-hmm. That's the way the world works.
Right.
Okay? So, how does branding make this better? Well, say you show up in a Mercedes, but now you have the substance. Now you have the goods. Mm-hmm. And you could truly help them sell that home in record time. Now what? Right? Look at your chances of being hired, of getting that listing, and so on. Right?
Yeah.
So you got to come with the goods. So here's how I found out the hard way. Okay? So I was in a mastermind group not too long ago, probably about 3 years ago, and there was a guy, big branding guy. I won't say names. He was featured in Rolling Stones. I'll just leave it at that. And he was in the group with me. And he said to me, "Wow, Henry, I really love your approach to what you do. Mm-hmm. So tell me how you do it." And I told him, we diagnosed the process first. We diagnosed the issue, then we strategize, and then we apply that strategy as needed. And he says, "So you're like a doctor. That's like how a doctor works." I said, "Yeah." He's like, "So you're like the brand doctor." I said, "Yeah, I guess you could call me that." And that's how I got the name, the brand doctor. So he digs a little further and he looks at my website and he says, "Wow, Henry, pretty website. But there's one thing missing. Credibility. I don't see any case study. Mm-hmm. All I hear and read is fast talk."
Yeah.
So all you have to do, Adam, is point me in the right direction, and I'm like the road runner, right? So he said, "What if this is all free information now." He said, "What if I helped you? I don't even want you to hire me. This guy's got money for days. He's retired. Like, my money will do nothing for him." He said, because I see your passion for this and how you love to do this, I want to help you." So he helped me put together a framework for case studies. He helped me put together the credibility and the social proof that was missing on my website. Here I am, a branding guy, supposed to know all of this stuff, right? No. I was working inside the bottle. I couldn't see the outside of the label. I couldn't read it. I needed that outside perspective. That's why coaching and mentorship is so important.
Yeah.
So I tucked my tail between my legs. I wasn't trying to say, "Well, I'm the brand doctor. I'm supposed to know, you can't tell me anything." No. I said, "I'm open book. Help me." So now when you go to my website, we've created a case study section where I basically highlight on their own page dozens of clients that I've worked with, and we have what their pain point was.
Yeah. It's very moving. I've looked at it. Obviously, it's, yeah.
Yeah, what the strategy was, what we actually delivered for them, and the result that they got as we completed the project. Mm. There's dozens of them now. There's video testimony. There's screenshots of text messages from clients. Because people don't really give a shit about me. Right. Like we said, right?
Yeah.
They want to know, how can you help me sell my house? How can you help me how can you help me? And so when you lead with that.
And what
you're winning.
And what it takes is, obviously, if you go by the site or you see something, for example, it's a whole story thing, right? Like they go by a story and it's like, that sounds exactly like me. And that's when it moves the needle. And they're like, oh, well, man, that's okay. That's who, it's not, it's so dialed in, right? Like that's the whole thing where, when we started putting my messages out there, right? I'm talking to an avatar. I'm talking to one person, right? Like talking to one person. Like, and then guess what? It works out, right? So, and it doesn't mean like it's, it literally, I'm talking to a person and their age and everything. It doesn't mean that, it's going to be a 38-year-old guy that's going to hire me, right? But, but you're talking to somebody, but having those pain points and talking about it, it resonates. And what's happening is obviously people are coming by there and they're going, that's me, right? That's like me. That's not, oh, I like Henry because he's got like a flashy, things going on and he's getting out of a helicopter. It's, oh, that speaks to me. That's the thing. And just like I was talking to a real estate agent, we're going to do videos. And I said, listen, it's like, oh, we're going to do these videos. I said, well, let's tell a story, right? Like who, specifically, let's, we don't have to name their names. We can change their names, but like talk about that what happened there. Not like we've got a whole bunch of people pre-approved or whatever. It's like we got them, they had this score and they went to here and then they got, now they just bought a home, et cetera, and really having that dialed in, because then somebody's like, that's like me. Well, that sounds like me. That's the problem I have, and that's where I want to get. And that's when it really moves the needle. And that's what branding is, when it starts moving the needle of, oh, wow, that speaks directly to me. Not, oh my God, like the brand doctor's got some pretty stuff there, right? It's like that's cool. Like he seems like a pretty cool guy, but they may think that, but they're not going to buy from you unless they know like that's there's case studies or there's something that it's similar type of pain points that they have.
And that's why I laugh at my critics that say, well, what does it, like, that's all Henry does is go live every day and does a podcast, and he's like, I don't get how he makes his money, right? But that's exactly how I make my money. Is I go out on social media. I'm an open book. Sometimes I'm absolutely sucking at what I do. Sometimes I'm not in the mood to go live. Sometimes I'm super jeeped up and I can't wait to go live. But I'm sharing my stories, good and bad. Mm-hmm. I'm sharing my process. I'm sharing my journey, open book. Yeah. Because here's the deal. I have a 3-year-old son. And man, it feels like he was born 3 minutes ago. And there will come a time where that little guy won't be little anymore. And he's going to be Googling his father's name. And he's going to read stuff. He's going to listen to this podcast. He's going to watch videos on my YouTube channel. But I am leaving behind the yellow brick road for him to become a successful young man.
Awesome.
And that's why I do what I do. And so every piece of content that I put out, I'm leaving him another clue on either what not to do because daddy learned the hard way or what to do because that led to success.
Yeah.
So that's why I get out there and I do it. And what happens is the world rewards you for that leadership. It rewards you for putting out that goodwill.
Yeah.
I was on a coaching call right before this podcast with a very difficult client. His fear of social media is through the roof. We've been working together for 6 months. He's probably produced 2 pieces of content since then. And I've told him, your success lies literally on the other side of the sphere. Mm-hmm. And I gave him a game plan to use on me so that he gets more comfortable with getting out there. Because I said to him, and I hate to say this, my friend, if you don't start taking action on what I do, this time next year, you probably won't be in business. So I want to wrap that point up, but we're running out of time here, and I really want people to understand this next point, because I really think it's going to help them understand branding even more, but really help them position themselves better as a business professional. Be the client you wish to attract. Be the client you wish to attract. I put a big addition in my backyard over the summer, and I put out a hefty sum of money, and it was ironic that it was about the equivalent cost of what somebody would hire me for. So I know what it feels like to spend that kind of money, and I felt myself at times wanting to nickel and dime the job, wanting to micromanage the job. And all I kept thinking of was, Henry, you hate those types of clients. So don't be one. Yeah. And so that I really, really, really stand behind, because we forget as the seller or as the business owner about the clients that we love and the clients we hate. So be the client you wish to attract, and they will continue to show up. I'll wrap this all together in a nice bow for you. When I was putting out pictures of my cars and flights and vacations and all of that stuff, all I was attracting was much of the same from clients. And I had some really shitty clients back in the day. I hate to say it, but I did. Yeah. It wasn't until I changed my attitude, changed my perspective, realized that people are going to hire you for the results that you deliver and the authenticity that you deliver in your messaging and in your videos and all of that. Magic happened. I started to attract clients that were, here's my money, Henry, make it go away. I trust you 1,000%. I've seen enough online. I've seen your credibility online and in your website. Just help me. That's all I'm asking. Just help me. And those clients have gone on to do multi-seven figures in their business. And they were like, we couldn't have done it without your direction. And I was like, that's what it's all about. Yeah. It's giving, man. It's giving. So I'm done. I hope this helped.
I mean, I was just intently listening. It's one of those, how they say, most people are just waiting to speak. They're not really listening. Like, that was not the case. Like, it's kind of like when you stop them almost some of those times, I'm like, oh, I got to speak, because I'm just intently like listening to what you got to deliver. Cause it was massively, deep in what you're saying. And there's, some people can't really put it together, but just if you think, and, it's one of those podcasts, I think out there, I'm not just saying this because it's my podcast. Like, I would listen to this a couple times, because there's a lot of points you're probably going to miss. And I'm going to listen to this again and probably a couple times myself, because there's a lot of stuff you hadn't. I mean, it was just boom, 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 rapid fire of deep content. That's really the mindset behind it. You may not get all the tactics from this, but you're definitely going to start to, okay, what's a mindset? And then, I can try to do this, and maybe I can try to do this, and you can start to get that ball rolling. So, the best way to contact you is on Instagram, right? And so the Brand Doctor, just literally the Brand Doctor,
the Brand DR, the Brand DR.
Excuse me, yeah, Brand DR, the Brand DR on Instagram. He's got massive followers there. He always puts out a ton of content. I've been listening to it, and he's got a podcast. The podcast is the Brand DR as well, correct?
The Brand Doctor podcast.
Brand Doctor podcast. I got it. I've actually got it downloaded. Sorry, I couldn't remember what it was called exactly, but he's just like he says in here. He's really just putting out the content and giving. It's not one of those like spammy podcasts, like you're like, oh my gosh, like it's all this stuff. It's really just giving. And, you know, obviously if you want having questions or whatever, reach out to him, Instagram, just message him. He lives on there. And, that's because that's what he does, right? Massively crushing business. So, man, it was such a pleasure. And I'm definitely we need to link up again and see, what possible collaboration we can do. Because I really see tons of value for, that we can work together with and possibly help clients out there. So just absolutely loved having you on. Massive value. It's just, man, I'm blown away.
Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate the time, and I love your Southern charm. The hospitality was great, and I wish you the best of luck in the future. Keep doing what you're doing. I pick up on people's energy pretty quickly and pretty easily, and I can tell you're a true man that really wants to help people live better lives and create better businesses for themselves so that they can provide, for their families and live lives that they love to live. And that really aligned with me because, we didn't get into my personal backstory too much because we ran out of time, but I truly believe that we're all here for a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we all have the ability, no matter who we are, where we are, to design the life that we want.
Absolutely.
And if a punk kid from New Jersey could do it, so could you.
Absolutely.
And so I think that you're doing an amazing job, and I want to encourage you to keep up the great work.
I appreciate that. And I think we're definitely in line. I think it's selfish for me. It's selfish because to not try to give what I can because, it was just a few years back when I stopped powerlifting and said I'm going to start being in business. I didn't have any money, wasn't making any real money, and elevated really quick because I just took some of those same disciplines. But then it's like, how can I help others, realize what the potential is for them out there? And I think that's exactly what you're doing too. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And if anybody's listening to this podcast, I feel like we're both aligned on just we're here to help, and it's way more than money for us. So, man, great having you on, Henry, and the brand DR. If you do not hit him up and get, have a at least follow him, then you are nuts. You're crazy. So get all the content you can from him, and then maybe he can help you in the future.
Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely. Remember, guys, limited risk equals limited income.